Hey everybody, and welcome back to another Max Velocity weather forecast. And in today's forecast, we'll be going over that severe weather potential for today across portions of the southeast United States, which could bring a potential for a few tornadoes. We are also talking about a rare severe weather event that could happen next week across portions of the United States. First things first, let's talk about the weather that's currently ongoing across the United States, which is fairly interesting right now. We do have a trough that has actually been developing back down in the southern plains. This is now slowly moving off to the east, which a lot of warm and moist air is out in front of it. That could ramp up the potential for some severe storms later today, and that could also pose the potential for a few tornadoes. So across areas like Alabama, Mississippi, and eastern Louisiana, under the gun for the potential for some severe weather later today. Beyond that, we do have a high pressure system that is currently ongoing in the northeast United States. That's keeping areas back up in New England dry for the time being. However, there will be this low pressure system that will slowly move off to the northeast. Could bring some shower activity heading into Halloween. So just keep that in mind if you're back up in New England or anywhere in the northeast. Because of that trough, we're going to see a potential for severe weather today. All of that warm and humid air is coming out of the Gulf of Mexico. That should be able to fuel up the potential for some supercells, and a couple of them might produce an isolated tornado threat. Best chance for that will be in southern Alabama, southern Mississippi, and as well as eastern Louisiana. The threat does extend closer to Pensacola, Florida as well. With all that being said, let's talk about the future radar and when the best chance for severe weather will be. Beginning with about 12 to 2 p.m. this afternoon, that's when we could see the initial potential for an isolated tornado threat. But by about 4 to 5 o'clock, these storms will start to move off to the east into areas like West Gulfport, back through Jackson, Mississippi, and eventually going towards Meridian. By 5 to 6 o'clock, those storms move off to the east. By about 8 to 9 o'clock this evening, all the storm activity will for the most part move into areas like Alabama, where an isolated tornado threat will still exist up until probably about 10 or 11 o'clock tonight back out to the east. So our best chance for any tornado threat will likely be early this afternoon. Despite that threat for severe weather, we are talking about a rare severe weather event that could happen late next week. This is a day 7 outlook. We hardly ever see these because it is difficult to forecast severe weather that long term, but we have a rare slight risk going into next Friday for the potential for all modes of severe weather across Oklahoma and Texas. This is why it's pretty rare, because we typically don't see these events this long term. But again, all modes of severe weather will be possible. Now, why is this such a big event? Well, we will have a very well deepening trough back out in the western United States heading into Thursday. Likely to start out positively tilted as a trough, but heading into late Thursday into Friday, this will become a cutoff low, and these can become a little bit dangerous due to the fact when we get these little cutoff lows, they are off the jet stream. So when we have these, we can have a higher low level jet and really a better chance for severe weather overall. And heading into late Friday into Saturday, this will become negatively tilted. So this will be something to watch for very closely, because negatively tilted troughs bring a better potential for severe weather, as well as these cutoff lows, which I like to call a bowling ball low. Let's take it day by day to give you an idea of what you're going to see in your location over the next 7 days. The trough that I mentioned before that's bringing severe weather will move off to the northeast. That could bring some shower and potentially some isolated storm activity heading into Halloween. So make sure you're staying safe out there. Looks like some scattered showers possible up that direction heading into Halloween. On the other hand, we'll have another little system back up in the northwest United States. That'll bring a snowstorm to Canada, but not really much of an impact to the United States. At least for the most part, some isolated snow might be possible in the higher elevations. But going into the weekend, this is when that deepening trough will really set sail back into the southern plains. That could bring the potential for all modes of severe weather, mainly for a damaging wind threat for right now, but we could also see a potential for a couple of tornadoes and maybe even some hail. Heading into Sunday into Monday, that trough quickly moves off to the northeast. So we'll have to watch that system very closely. It is far out, so things might change, but definitely something to keep an eye on, and make sure you're staying updated with Max Velocity for the latest details on that. Closer look going into late Friday into Saturday. Again, this system will really begin over Texas. We could see some severe weather out of this, damaging winds being the biggest concern it looks like for now, but we very well could see a tornado potential with the low-level jet being a bit stronger. So this will be a system, again, to keep a close eye on for the next several days. It is really our biggest threat for the upcoming week. Temperatures over the next 7 days are not going to be too bad across the United States. Most areas will remain around average, if not even just above average overall. The next cool down that is currently in the forecast will not be up until next weekend, which at this point is too far out to really give you an idea of how cold it might get. But for right now, the only cool air that we're going to see anytime in the next 7 to 10 days would be that trough that I've been mentioning that is going to potentially bring a rare severe weather event. Rainfall over the next 7 days, most of the United States will see some sort of rain. New England is in a bit of a hole, so if you're in New England, you might not see much of anything, but on the other hand, if you're back out to the west, definitely a better possibility for some showers and storms. We haven't discussed the tropics in forever, but there's actually 2 systems out in the Atlantic Ocean right now. Neither of them seem to be posing a threat to the United States, so I haven't really mentioned them, but we do have one system back over near Bermuda, very low chance of developing. We also have a system in the Caribbean Sea right now that has a 70% chance of development in the next 5 days. But for right now, this is not forecasted to impact the United States. It will move off to the west. It likely won't enter the Gulf of Mexico. Most computer models are keeping it either at this black line or south. So basically at this point, most likely going to impact South America. Not forecasted to become much of anything. In fact, it is really only forecasted to become at best a tropical depression, maybe a tropical storm as it heads towards the Yucatan Peninsula. And then after that, it starts to weaken out. So not really a whole lot is forecasted out of the system, but we'll keep you updated with the latest if anything does come out of that. Make sure to hit the like button down below, subscribe if you haven't already. This forecast is brought to you by Platinum Contract.